Today, we've got a really fascinating story for you, one that comes from southern India. It's one of those tales that kind of blurs the line between what's real and what's divine. It's the story of the man with an empty face.
So, this whole story really gets you thinking about a pretty deep question. What actually happens when you truly lose yourself? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, what happens when you dissolve the very barriers of who you think you are? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this.
All right, so our story kicks off, as so many great journeys do, with something incredibly simple, but also really profound: a mother's final wish. So picture this. We're going back about 250, maybe 300 years ago. There's this man, a devotee, and his elderly mother has just one last desire. She wants to travel to the holy city of Kashi to pass away in the presence of the deity Shiva. So he takes up this duty, and they begin this long, long walk. And when his mother gets too frail to continue, what does he do? He carries her on his shoulders. You can just imagine his energy just draining away with every single step.
As he's struggling through the forest, completely exhausted, this is the prayer that's just running on a loop in his head. And get this, he's not praying for himself. He's not asking for a break. He's just asking for the strength to fulfill this one promise to his mother. I mean, it was an act of pure, undiluted devotion. So it's right here, at this point of near total exhaustion, but also this incredible focus, that the journey takes a very strange, almost unbelievable turn. Suddenly, he hears a bell, and out of the mist, a bullock cart just appears. Now, this is where things get really weird, so follow this sequence. First, he notices it's being pulled by just a single bull, which is odd for such a long trip. But okay, he and his mother get on. Then he realizes, wait a minute, this ride is impossibly smooth for a rough forest track. He looks down, and the wheels, they aren't even turning. He looks ahead, and the bull is sitting down, but the cart is still gliding forward. Finally, he turns to thank the driver, and there's no one there, just an empty cloak. So in that moment of just complete confusion, he looks over at his mother, and she says this to him. In that mystical cart, she understood. The journey wasn't about a physical place anymore. Kashi had come to them, and right there, she peacefully passed away. And just like that, the cart, the bull, the driver, they all vanished. The man, now completely changed by what he'd seen, returned to his village. But his journey? It was far from over. In a lot of ways, the real test was just beginning. And this just brilliantly shows the disconnect, right? The villagers, they just saw a man who came back way too fast. Their logic led them to a really cynical conclusion. He must have just abandoned his mother somewhere and made the whole thing up. But for him, his reality was completely different. He knew something profound had happened. His life was, as he put it, lit with this truth. Of course they didn't believe him, not for a second. They mocked him, called him a liar, and they demanded proof. They challenged him. Oh yeah? If you actually saw Shiva, then show us. Prove it. His response was so simple. He just said, I didn't see him. I only saw a cloak. And there was no face. It was empty. And then he sat down just to demonstrate how the driver had been sitting. And in that instant, he was gone. Vanished. All that was left was a pile of his clothes. And from that day on, he was known as a great sage, the man with the empty face. I mean, what an incredible story. But it's more than just a cool folktale. It's pointing towards a really powerful idea about the human experience. So what's the actual takeaway here? So think about it. What allowed this man to have such a profound, reality-bending experience? The core lesson of the whole story is all about the transformative power of devotion. So what is devotion, really? Well, in the context of this story, it's not about religion. It's a state of being so focused on something outside of yourself that your own sense of self, your ego, your limits, your problems, it just starts to dissolve. It's a way to cross the barriers of who you think you are. And here's the crucial point, okay? It doesn't matter what you're devoted to. The object of your devotion, whether it's a god, a person, a goal, a project, that's actually irrelevant. The real transformative power, the magic, it comes from the quality of your devotion itself. That is what changes you. And you see this everywhere, right? Think about any significant achievement in any field. An artist completely lost in their work.
an athlete pushing past their limits, a musician just pouring their soul into a performance. Without that intense sense of devotion, that ability to lose yourself in the task, nothing truly great is ever accomplished. So this whole idea of losing yourself through devotion, it builds to this beautiful, kind of paradoxical conclusion. This is where it all really comes together. The source material captures this perfectly. It describes devotion as a love affair where you don't have a choice. I love that. It's not something you can just walk away from. You don't become free from it. You get completely absorbed into it. And this brings us right to the ultimate paradox. By becoming so completely devoted to his task, the man's own identity, his face, became empty. He became nothing. But here's the thing. In that process of dissolving his personal boundaries, he wasn't lost. He connected with everything. That empty face, it turns out, contains it all. And it leaves us with one final thought. What could you achieve if you found something to be so devoted to that you too could forget yourself, and in doing so, find everything?